In this practical phase, we are going to create 4 icons telling a little narrative. I have selected the subject of Harry Potter and his strange journey from King's Cross Station to Hogwarts. It is up to you to decide what kind of story you want to create a narrative for. Think about a short story that can be easily represented by just 4 icons. So let's begin! The first step will be to create some canvases where we can place the icons. Since we are talking about 4 icons, I would create 4 different canvases for each of them. Later on, we can copy-paste them if we want to a bigger canvas where it fits all of them at the same time. In order to open a new canvas, as we already know, we go to File and then New, and we can select from the presets of this panel. In this case, you're designing some icons, so we would go for something digital, so for web, and we can click View All Presets in order to see some further options here. I feel like it will be better to stick with kind of a square format, which is not any of these presets. So let's go ahead and adjust it. We're working with vectors, so it doesn't really matter. We can always scale it up or down later on. We are using pixels as our unit and RGB color mode. I usually save my file straight away so I don't forget to do so later on, because it sometimes does happen that the software might quit or something is gonna stuck on your computer and you might lose your work. File, Save As, save it on my desktop. We just need the latest version of Illustrator and we just press OK. I'm gonna start with Harry Potter's glasses. I'm gonna use the ellipse tool that we just saw in the course and create one ellipse holding the shift key down to keep equal proportions so it becomes a circle. I'm gonna increase a bit the stroke so it's nice and thick. And I'm gonna duplicate the shape holding the Alt key and Shift key to create the clone. I want also to create that part that I want between the glasses to connect them. What I'm gonna do is clone again this shape and turn it holding the Shift key down, reposition it here in the middle. Select all 3 objects, go to my Align panel, which if you're having a bit of trouble finding on the icons, you can access it through the Window panel. And I'm gonna select Align the selection, that is right, make all circles have equal gaps. Let's get rid of the fill, we don't really need it, we just want the stroke. So this way I can have a nice part here in the middle connecting the 2 parts of the lenses of the glasses. What I need to do next is cut the shape. And there are a few different ways to do so. One of them is the eraser tool, or what I usually use is a scissors tool. Click on the line in order to crop the path. Now you see that I have selected the part of the glasses that I don't really need, so I'm gonna press backspace to get rid of it. As you noticed, on my stroke is set it up so the line was actually on the edge, on the outside, rather than in the middle. So let's go ahead and access the stroke panel here. Align all of them so the line is actually in the middle of the line. That feels quite good. Let's fix a bit the distance as well. I think we can make the glasses even a bit thicker. Let's increase that number. I'm gonna group those shapes now just by right click and group. I align them to the artboard this time. Now I'm gonna also create the little thunder for Harry Potter. I'm gonna use my pen tool. Again, we can go ahead and adjust a bit this line using the stroke panel and make, let's say, the edges slightly different. So from the top here, I want the edges to be nice and sharp. And I'm gonna make it thicker so it's a bit more prominent. You can squeeze it or amend it slightly so you're quite happy with how it looks like. Quite a good starting point. I'm gonna group all 3 icons together, right click group, and align them to my canvas itself. The first icon representing Harry Potter is quite well designed. Perhaps this part is a bit too short, so let's go ahead and further edit it a bit with the white arrow. And of course I can manually adjust a bit the handles and give the right curve that I want to that middle part of the glasses. So I'm gonna ungroup it since I feel like this should be even thicker. Perfect. What I'm gonna do now is access my artwork tool, which the shortcut is also Shift and O key, and create an extra artwork. Let's start creating the second icon. Firstly, I'm always reminding myself to save my file. I'm gonna create the little sign in King's Cross Station of 9 3/4. I'm gonna make it the same thickness, so 47 points, so we can have some consistency. And I'm gonna use a type tool to type in the numbers that I actually need, which are number 9, 3, and 4. They are tiny, so you can't really see them. Let's make them bigger. I'm just using the handles to transform the numbers, and I have the Shift key, hold it down in order to keep the proportions equal. I'm gonna go to the character and the properties here and change to Susie Sans, which is one of my favorite fonts at the moment, and select the black shell, one nice and bold typography. Now I want to work further on this typography, and what I need is to turn it to shapes and not just text. You go to Object, Expand, and then press OK in this panel to expand both the object and the fill. And then we need to ungroup it, so right click ungroup, and I'm able to select each of the shapes individually and further amend them. So let's make them smaller, almost half the size. I'm gonna bring number 4 just underneath number 3. You see how the smart guides are helping me perfectly align my objects without having to create any guides still. I need also this horizontal line in between, so I'm gonna grab a rectangle, draw a little horizontal line the same length as number 4. That starts feeling quite good. I'm gonna select 3 shapes, align them in order to have same vertical space in between them. Group that part. And scale it so it has exactly the same height. That feels nice and tidy now. Group also those 3 together, bring them on my artboard, and align them on the artboard, horizontally and vertically. Scale them a bit up, holding the Shift and Alt key down, which allows me to transform them, keeping the same proportions. We have the second icon done. Let's go ahead and create a new canvas. Reminder, file, save, just make sure that you have your file and nothing is gonna go wrong. So let's create a little train now. I'm gonna create the main body using some rectangles, and then we can use some circles for the wheels perhaps, the window, and little details. I'm gonna use a shade of gray so we can actually see better what is going on. And I'm gonna make it a bit more round. It feels a bit too geometric and everything else is nice and round. So I'm gonna grab my white arrow, select this rectangle, and just drag a bit the corner to make it a bit more round. You'll find yourself coming back to your shapes and adjust them more and more as you're creating the next icons and so on. So you can make sure all of the icons have some kind of consistency. Let's add some wheels. That's gonna help us understand what else we need. I'm gonna make them again with the same code, so gray. and I'm gonna duplicate them using Alt and Shift, or you can use also Command D, that we learned at creating clones in the same line and the same distance as you had with the previous clone. I'm gonna move it slightly further and use the Align panel to align them again. I'm gonna group them, right click and group, and select the rest of the train, those parts here, and group them as well, so I can perfectly align the wheels. And as I said, we select the two shapes that we want to align, the train and the wheels, and then we click again on the shape that we don't want to move, so the train, and then align the object so it perfectly aligns to the train without moving the train itself. So again, little details of balancing the shapes so they feel quite nice. All this part is a bit too tall, so I'm gonna grab all the anchor points with my white arrow and bring them a bit down. I'm gonna create another circle here for a window. I'm gonna ungroup that part so I can separately select this part of the train and the window and perfectly align it at the center. But yeah, I'm gonna move it a bit up. I don't really like it at the center. And make this a bit taller. I'm gonna duplicate all those 4 wheels and I'm gonna recolor them black. I'm gonna double click to get within the group, select my white arrow and all the top anchor points of the circles, press backspace, and that is gonna leave half of the circles. And that gives it like a nice detail that makes it a bit more engaging. It's just up to you what you want to do and how you want to work on the details and decorate your designs. So I'm just gonna select those 3 anchor points, or actually let's move it further down there. It needs a bit of back and forth till you get to the outcome that you're happy with. I'm gonna create a little cloud as well here at the top. I'm gonna use some circles that we can then merge them using the Pathfinder to create the little cloud coming from the train. And you can see how, like with simple shapes, we can create a whole story with lots of different icons. Nice. I'm gonna group this icon and use my align panel to bring it in the middle. And let's scale it also a bit since it was quite tiny. It's important to keep a balance between all of your icons, and it doesn't mean that they have to have the exact same size. Sometimes it just means that they have to have a balance in terms of weight. The train feels a bit heavier, so it can stay a bit smaller than the others. I feel like we forgot to group and align the glasses. Yes, that's right. Another thing that I could do in the train is to ungroup it and select all those circles here and use my Pathfinder. So window, and then from the bottom here, Pathfinder, in order to merge them and create one shape out of all these circles there. I'm gonna also grab those 2 and use a second icon on the Pathfinder which crops one from the other. Merge it also with this detail there and merge it also with the bottom part. It's good to have your geometry as clean as possible because it's gonna help you if you later on want to further edit your shape. I'm gonna send those ones to front, so arrange and then bring to front. And here you go, we have a nice clean train.